Welcome to AI Vodcast, the channel where cutting-edge AI meets everyday life to make the complex simple. Here, our AI-driven conversations tackle topics that might seem overwhelming at first and break them down into bite-sized, relatable insights. No jargon, no fluff, just clear and engaging content that speaks to you. Today's episode dives into something truly timeless and profound. We're exploring the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, an ancient scripture that opens with a battlefield. But it's not just any battlefield. It's a canvas for some of life's deepest struggles and questions. We'll unpack its wisdom and ask ourselves, what lessons does it offer in today's modern, fast-paced world? And don't go anywhere, because later, we'll discuss how these ancient teachings could surprisingly connect with the way we approach personal growth, decision-making, and even work-life balance. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Before we get started, just a quick note. This podcast is fully AI generated. The host, guests, and speakers, all powered by AI. This is an experiment in the creative and connective power of technology, so enjoy it with an open mind. Remember, the aim is not to offend, but to celebrate the innovative ways AI can enhance our lives. Thank you for being here and supporting this journey. If you enjoy what we're doing, please hit that like button, subscribe for more episodes, and share your feedback in the comments. And hey, what's the next big topic you'd like AI to break down for you? Drop your suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. All right, let's get started and explore the incredible journey of the Bhagavad Gita Chapter 1.
All right, so today we are diving deep into the Bhagavad Gita, specifically Chapter 1. We've got translations, commentaries, all sorts of great sources for this one. And this first chapter, well, it really sets the stage for just an incredible existential crisis.
You know, it's striking because the Bhagavad Gita, it doesn't start with some lofty pronouncements or anything. It throws us right into the middle of a battlefield. Yeah. Kurukshetra, two sides of a family are about to clash, the Pandavas and the Kauravas.
Oh yeah, talk about a family reunion gone wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, generations of betrayal, political maneuvering, you name it. Everything's led to this point of no return. But before, the fighting starts, we meet our main man, Arjuna.
And Arjuna's not just any warrior, he's the warrior. Considered the best of the best, he's fighting for the Pandavas, everybody's looking to him for victory. But then something happens, something that changes everything.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. So picture this. Arjuna asks Krishna, his charioteer, to position him between the two armies. He wants to get a sense of who he's up against, strategize, But little does he know, this is a huge turning point.
Well, you've got to remember that Krishna isn't just a charioteer. He's a divine figure. It's almost as if he knows what's about to happen. But Arjuna, he's just thinking tactics. He wants to size up the enemy. And the moment he gets a clear view of who he's up against, well, it's like his whole world just shatters.
So what does he see that's so terrifying?
Oh, man, imagine the weight on his shoulders. I mean, he looks out and he sees the very best of the Kaurav army. Master strategists, legendary fighters, all looking to him to break. We're talking names like Bhishma, the grand old patriarch of the family, Drona, master swordsman and strategist, and then there's Karna, Arjuna's rival, and a force to be reckoned with. And on his side, he sees family, Bhima, known for his strength, Yudhishthira, the eldest brother, the embodiment of righteousness, and the 5 sons of Draupadi, each a skilled fighter. It's almost too much to bear.
Whoa, no kidding.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the pressure. So this request, to check out the battlefield, it kind of backfires, huh?
Big time. It triggers a full-blown meltdown. The text describes it so vividly. His limbs are trembling, his mouth goes dry, skin's burning, his mind's whirling, and his famous bow, Gandiva, literally slips from his grasp.
Wow. Talk about a panic attack. But why this extreme reaction? I mean, he's a seasoned warrior. He's faced death before. What makes this different?
It's not just about facing death, it's about facing the people he loves, the people he respects. I mean, he sees his teachers, his relatives, his friends, people he's grown up with, shared meals with, trained with, and they're all ready to kill or be killed.
That's heavy. So what does he do? Does he just suck it up and fight?
Well, not exactly. What unfolds is honestly one of the most profound dilemmas in literature. He just starts pouring his heart out to Krishna. He's basically saying, what good is victory? What good is a kingdom if it means killing my own family? I mean, he's horrified by the idea of destroying family and tradition.
Yeah, he believes it's a sin, right? Like that'll lead him to some serious bad karma.
Exactly. He believes it'll lead him straight to hell. And he's also deeply concerned about the societal consequences. Think about it. Families destroyed, women left unprotected, children becoming orphans. He's asking, is all this bloodshed really worth it?
And this is an epic ancient battle we're talking about. But how often do we face decisions where our duty clashes with our personal feelings? Like, do you take that promotion that means more money but way less family time?
Oh, that's a perfect example. You can see this struggle, what Arjuna calls pravriti versus nivriti, play out every day. Pravriti is about action, charging ahead, fulfilling your duty. But then there's nivriti, the need to pull back, find balance, maybe even renounce certain things.
So what does Arjuna decide? Which path does he choose?
Well, he's in complete despair at this point. He even says to Krishna, it would be better to be killed by the Kauravas, unarmed, unresisting, than to fight them.
Hold on. Are you saying that Arjuna, this legendary warrior, is a coward? Isn't there something noble about his compassion?
Oh, he's definitely not a coward. His sensitivity, his compassion, his willingness to question, these are actually his strengths. And that's what makes him relatable. Even thousands of years later, he's giving voice to the doubts we all suppress, the questions about duty, morality, even the meaning of life itself.
Okay, so we've got this massive battle about to erupt, and the guy who's supposed to be the hero is having a full-on existential crisis. What I want to know is, WHY? Why does Arjuna, this legendary warrior, completely lose it?
Well, one of the most respected commentators on the Bhagavad Gita, Adi Shankaracharya, he says the root cause of Arjuna's crisis is something called moha, or delusion. He points to aham, the ego, and mama, the sense of mine, as the main culprits.
So wait, is he saying that Arjuna is basically freaking out because his ego is too big? And he's too focused on, like, my stuff, my people? That's kind of relatable, right? Haven't we all gotten stuck in that me mindset sometimes?
Absolutely. And that's the brilliance of the Bhagavad Gita. It takes these seemingly ancient, far-off events and connects them to our everyday struggles. We all experience moments of doubt, fear, confusion. The key is how we respond to those moments.
Okay, so we've got Arjuna spiraling, facing this impossible choice. How do the great thinkers explain this meltdown? Is there a way out of this mess?
That's where things get really interesting. But before we jump into that, let's take a quick break. We'll be back in a flash to delve deeper into Arjuna's dilemma and explore what it all means for us.
Don't go anywhere.
So Arjuna, this legendary warrior, completely undone at the thought of battling his own family and friends. And like we were saying, Shankaracharya suggests that it's his moha, his delusion, his attachment to me and mine, that's clouding his judgment.
So it's like he's so focused on the immediate pain, the potential loss, that he can't see the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that's where Krishna comes in. He's not just a charioteer, he's a divine guide. And over the next few chapters, he's going to lay out a whole philosophy to help Arjuna navigate this crisis. Oh, so kind of like a therapist, but on like a cosmic scale.
Yeah, but before we get to Krishna's wisdom, it's worth dwelling on the fact that Arjuna is allowed to have this breakdown. The text doesn't shy away from his very human struggle.
Yeah, that's what gets me. Even the greatest warrior, the guy who's supposed to be fearless, can be brought to his knees by grief and doubt. It's kind of comforting.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that we all have these emotions, these moments of vulnerability, and pushing them down, pretending they don't exist, that isn't the answer.
So what is the answer? Is Arjuna right to refuse to fight? What about his duty to his brothers, to his kingdom?
Oh, that's the million-dollar question. And it's one that the Bhagavad Gita invites us to wrestle with. There are no easy answers here.
So it's not like a rule book. It's more like, a conversation starter, a way to explore these really complex issues.
Precisely. And in a way, Arjuna's breakdown is a necessary step. It forces him and us, the readers, to confront some fundamental questions about duty, morality, even the meaning of life. Okay, so we're starting to see why this first chapter is so crucial. It's not just about setting the scene for a battle. It's about setting the stage for a much deeper exploration of, well, the human condition.
Right. It's like that moment before a storm. The air gets still, the tension builds, and something big is about to happen. And in Arjuna's case, that something big is a journey of self-discovery that unfolds over the next 17 chapters.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, I want to go back to something Arjuna said that really resonated with me. He talked about the societal consequences of war. Families torn apart, women left vulnerable, children orphaned. This isn't just ancient history, right? We see this playing out in conflicts all over the world, even today.
Absolutely. And that's what makes the Bhagavad Gita so relevant. It's not just about one man's dilemma. It's about these universal questions of violence, duty, and the search for meaning in a world full of suffering.
So what can we, the listeners, take away from this deep dive into Chapter 1? What should we be pondering, as we go about our day? Facing our own battles, maybe not on a literal battlefield, but in our own lives?
Well, I think there are a few key takeaways here. First, as we've been discussing, it's crucial to acknowledge the power of emotions. Even the strongest among us can be overwhelmed by grief, fear, doubt. These aren't weaknesses, they're part of what makes us human.
And trying to suppress them, push them down, that probably doesn't end well.
Not usually. The Bhagavad Gita encourages us to engage with our emotions, to understand them, to work with them rather than against them.
This makes me think about all the times I've tried to just like power through difficult feelings. Maybe that's not the most helpful approach.
It's definitely worth exploring other ways to cope. And that leads to the second takeaway, the importance of self-awareness. Arjuna's breakdown, it forces him to confront his deepest values, his beliefs about duty, family, even the nature of reality itself. It's a process of questioning, of introspection, of looking within.
So it's not just about feeling your feelings. It's about understanding where they come from, what they're telling you.
Exactly. If we're not aware of our own motivations, our own biases, our own attachments, then we're likely to be driven by unconscious forces, reacting rather than responding.
So chapter 1 is like a wake-up call. It's saying, hey, pay attention. There's more going on beneath the surface than you might realize.
And that awareness, that willingness to look within, that's the first step on the journey that the Bhagavad Gita will unfold in the chapters to come.
It's like we're being invited to step onto the battlefield of our own lives, to confront our own fears and doubts. And the Bhagavad Gita is the guidebook.
That's a powerful way to put it. But remember, we're just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to explore.
And explore we will. But for now, dear listener, I want to leave you with this. If you were in Arjuna's position, facing a choice that tore you apart, a choice where your duty clashed with your deepest values, what would you do? What principles would guide your decision? Yeah, that is a tough question. How do you weigh the needs of the many against the needs of the few? Or even just the needs of yourself? No easy answers.
No, definitely not. And I think that's the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't, give us a pat answer, a one-size-fits-all solution or anything. It's more about prompting us to really grapple with these really, fundamental questions, to engage in that process of self-discovery and reflection.
Yeah, it's not saying, here's what you should do. It's more like, here are some things to consider, some different perspectives to explore.
Exactly. And that exploration, that willingness to question and to challenge our own assumptions, that's what ultimately leads to growth.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into Chapter 1, what are some key insights that our listeners can, take with them? What's the so what of all this?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that even the greatest among us, the people we hold up as heroes, they struggle with doubt and fear. Arjuna's breakdown, it reminds us that it's okay to not have all the answers, to feel overwhelmed, to question our path.
That's so nice to hear, because sometimes it feels like we're supposed to have it all figured out. But life is messy. Emotions are complicated.
Absolutely. And the Bhagavad Gita doesn't shy away from that. It embraces it. It shows us that our struggles, our moments of crisis, these can actually be opportunities for profound learning and transformation.
So it's not about avoiding those tough moments, those internal battles. It's more about facing them head on with self-awareness and maybe even a little grace.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And as we move forward into the rest of the Bhagavad Gita, we'll see how Arjuna's journey unfolds, how he grapples with his doubts, how he learns from Krishna, how he ultimately finds his way.
It's like we're starting on this journey with him. We're right there on that battlefield, facing our own, internal conflicts. And hopefully, with each chapter, we'll gain a little more clarity, a little more wisdom.
That's the hope, isn't it? To use these ancient teachings to illuminate our own lives, to navigate our own challenges with more understanding and compassion.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. If, as Shankaracharya suggests, delusion is what's clouding Arjuna's judgment, what are some of the delusions that might be holding you back? What beliefs or assumptions are preventing you from seeing things clearly, from living a life that's truly aligned with your values?
Those are some powerful questions to consider, and I really encourage our listeners to keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. Until next time, keep those minds open and those hearts curious.